Today, the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas officially acknowledged that in the past year, he took 3 trips on a private jet owned and paid for by this man, billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow. Now, according to Justice Thomas's annual financial disclosure report, Crow also funded a trip for Thomas to upstate New York, presumably to the same private lakeside resort in the Adirondacks that was captured in this now famous painting. Looks like a nice place. This is the first time in years that Justice Thomas has reported receiving any kind of hospitality from his friend Crow. This follows changes to disclosure rules this spring and public pressure after a series of bombshell investigative reports from ProPublica that detailed the lavish trips that Thomas and other justices like Samuel Alito failed to disclose in the past. Justice Thomas's lawyer defended previous omissions, saying, quote, "There has been no willful ethics transgression and any prior reporting errors were strictly inadvertent," end quote. This comes as the Supreme Court justices face increased scrutiny of their financial dealings and the lack of any enforceable ethics code. Lawmakers, specifically Democrats in the Senate, think that should change. The Senate Judiciary Committee recently advanced a bill that would, among other things, give the Supreme Court 180 days to adopt and publish a code of conduct. Joining us now is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the author of that bill. Senator Whitehouse, good to see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I just want to start by going back about a month to something that Samuel Alito, Justice Alito, who has been a vocal critic of your efforts and those of people like you, said in the Wall Street Journal. He said, quote, "No provision in the Constitution gives them the authority to regulate the Supreme Court, period." Right? Them being you or anybody else who thinks it should be done. He's not wrong on the face of it, because there are no words in the Constitution that speak about the regulation of the Supreme Court. But with that logic, nobody has the right to regulate anything.
Yeah, and with that logic, you would not have a judicial conference which oversees these ethics issues and was established by Congress. And in fact, the disclosure requirements that we're still fighting with the court over were also pursuant to a law passed by Congress. And the recusal issues we've been concerned about with Thomas's refusal to recuse in cases in which he had a personal interest, again, go back to a law passed by Congress. And for year after year after year after year, these are not new laws. The Supreme Court has accepted those laws, abided by them. Indeed, the Chief Justice chairs the judicial conference. So the idea that Congress has no role here is completely belied by both practice and the Supreme Court's own behavior.
Let's talk about what it is that you are proposing. You've got a few key things. The Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act. It gives the Supreme Court 180 days to adopt and publish a code of conduct. It allows the public to submit ethics complaints for review by a randomly selected panel of lower court judges, allows for more stringent rules for disclosure in gifts and travel, and requires justices to explain their recusal decisions to the public. Where are you in this effort, and how likely is it that what you're trying to do will come to fruition?
We are through the Judiciary Committee, and we are awaiting opportunity for a floor vote in this Congress. At the moment, Republicans have not been willing to participate in this effort, but we only know the very beginning of the mischief between the justices and the right-wing billionaires. As more and more evidence comes out, I think a time will come where the Republicans will say, okay, we got to throw in the towel. We held out as long as we could, but let's look at a bill. Because even this reporting by Justice Thomas that we've just seen is still very incomplete and full of maneuver and tricks by his lawyers.
One of the things that may cause Republicans to come to the table, there's a Gallup poll August 2nd that showed a record low for support in the Supreme Court among American people, about 40%. It's touched close to that back in 2006. Does that help your cause? That's just bad. That's bad for America. That level of trust is so low.
Well, I think what really helps our cause is how disgusted the American people are with the behavior of these justices. I mean, around the country, municipal employees, county employees, state employees, federal employees, and of course, other federal judges all operate under codes of conduct. In Rhode Island, you get 3 $25 lunches a year, which have to be reported, and that's it if you're a municipal official. These guys were taking $250,000 secret vacations paid for by billionaires who are known to be involved in manipulating the court. Indeed, in the picture you're showing right now, one of the chief court manipulators, Leonard Leo, is sitting there looking over at Harlan Crow and Justice Thomas. So the backdrop to this is an enormous amount of billionaire influence around the court. And this is a story that's going to continue to develop.
And it is important, the point you just made, that these are people who have some connection to court business. Initially, when asked about these things, the justices either prevaricated about whether or not they took these things or knew about them or why they did it, and then about the fact that these people potentially have business before the court.
Yeah. Well, one billionaire's hedge fund actually did have business before the court. Other billionaires are the supporters of front groups that file briefs as amici curiae and insert themselves into the business of the court. And several of these billionaires are involved in the longer-term overarching effort to capture and control the Supreme Court, to manipulate it and to turn it into a captured weapon for their political influence.
Senator, good to see you. Thank you for joining us this night. We appreciate your time. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Rhode Island.